Hello and welcome to Slow Pit Stop, the international Formula One podcast by fans for fans all around the world. My name's Arafat, and as always, maybe for the last time in my Mercedes top, I'm joined by my co-host Mohammed. Say hi, Mohammed.
Hi, Mohammed. See, I should have done that. I should have worn my Mercedes top, but I was like, no, I've given up on them forever. I'm just Hamilton now. So
I still have my McLaren tops from like 2007, 2008, and they actually look quite cool now. They're kind of retro.
But see, you have to wait long enough for them to become retro.
Yeah.
How long do you think it'll take for Mercedes to become retro?
This? See, it depends if Tommy Hilfiger goes to Ferrari with Lewis, because then a lot of this will disappear and it will very quickly be like, oh yeah, that was from that era.
Good point. Yeah. Oh, that would be he's leaving Mercedes. We just don't know if he's going to go to Ferrari. Yeah. But Puma or something is coming to Mercedes, I think. It's like some scramble. Monster is going to McLaren. It's all very confusing. Yeah. I don't know why Lewis has done this. He's confused me so much. I'm just kidding.
The entire sponsorship market has changed. You know what? Next year, once all the cars open, we should start a quiz to be like, who does Monster sponsor?
See, we did it before. I think it would be a really good idea because Santander is no longer with Ferrari anymore, and that's crazy.
Yeah, that's really weird. They've gone with science.
Yeah, when Snapdragon moved from Ferrari to Mercedes, that already confused me because I remember Snapdragon came in with
and it's
Ferrari.
Other things like DP World is on the McLaren now, but it used to be on Renault.
I know, and then what's his name? BWT is moving too, I think, from Alpine to Williams or something like that.
Are they?
I think so. I think they're moving. They're going to make a different car pink.
Because they were Otmar's people.
Yeah. It's all very weird. It's unfamiliar territory.
Yeah.
So,
strange.
Okay. I wanted to do this episode. Typically, we end the year with just our end of the year recap and we don't review Abu Dhabi because it's generally a very boring race. But I thought we'd talk about this race and then we'll do our end of the year recap separately.
Yeah. So, before we even get into that, so what we're going to talk about today is obviously the championship decider, last race for so many people, but obviously us being us, we're going to focus a lot on Lewis, and then we maybe talk a little bit about McLaren, Ferrari, Haas, Sauber, etc. Bottas's really weird whiskey advert, and then
what's next?
Yeah, what's an episode of an F1 podcast without talking about Perez? But before that, I want to start right at the end. After the race was all done, you saw Leclerc and Russell with Brad Pitt on the podium, and Brad Pitt was celebrating a win. And then Brad Pitt left, and I've forgotten the other actor's name. The other actor that plays the younger teammate for Apex GP, he went up, and he looked like he was winning the race.
Yeah.
And I find this film fascinating because it feels like for a year I've been watching all the behind the scenes. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And I'm like, what's it going to look like when it's finished? And there's a bit of me that's like, you know, both of them having identical podiums. Like, is it that the younger driver has won and Brad Pitt is like daydreaming, oh, if I had won, it would have looked like this, but it's not real because why would it backmark a team?
I thought they just shot two different endings so that we didn't know who wins at the end of the movie. Because if they only shoot Brad Pitt winning, everybody's going to go into that movie knowing Brad Pitt's the one that wins. But they shot both of them winning, so now we're like, okay, well, we don't know who's going to win. But I agree with you because I'm like, I really want to know how this movie's going to turn out. After the trailer, unfortunately, don't think it's going to be good. I mean, I had a lot of hope for it before. But now I'm like, I just have to watch it just to see.
I think the one line that killed it for me was like, they can go fast in a straight line, but we can beat them in the corners. I was like, no, you can't. That's the entire way aerodynamics and everything works in Formula One is to be as fast as possible in the corners. If you're slow there. You can be faster in a straight line like a Williams.
Everything that they included in the dialogue makes no sense because he listed off like 6 teams. And none of those teams have like traits that are in the, like he was like Ferrari, Red Bull, Mercedes, Aston. All of them operate in different ways. You can't list them all and be like, we gotta beat them because they're all fast in the straights. Like they do different things. Like
and apparently there's been lots of like re-editing because Lewis Hamilton went in and watched it and he was just like, he was watching different scenes, and at one point they went. The example that was given is they did a corner somewhere at Silverstone, and Lewis was like, "I can hear it. You're in the wrong gear." And like, "What? We're not in any gear. We just put like audio over this." And he goes, "Well, you've used audio for like second gear. It should be third gear there, or something like that."
That's good. I'm glad they're doing that.
Yeah.
Because like also in Mexico when he
The gloves.
wins, the gloves, the very famous, So he's got to fix. They've got to CG his hands or something.
Yeah.
There is a movie called The Tomorrow War. It was on Amazon Prime. It has what's his name from Jurassic Park and
Andy Dwyer.
Yeah, Andy Dwyer is in it. Yeah. So like
Super Mario, Andy Dwyer.
Exactly. I forgot his real name. Chris. One of the Chris's. Pratt. Yes, Chris Pratt. 3 years before that movie came out, I got an email that said, "We will pay you $50 to answer this survey, and this survey is going to go into making this new movie that's coming out sometime in the future." So it was like a bunch of plot points, and then at the end of it, it was like, which plot point do you think is good and which one do you think is really lame? And you just picked it for like 40 questions. Then at the end of it, it told you to pick like 3 titles for this movie. One of them was like Ghost War. One of them was like something. And the last one was Tomorrow War. And that was the only one that I saw that I was like, that is the stupidest title I've ever heard of. So I picked whatever the second one was because I thought that one was marginally okay. And I remember very clearly at the time what my plot choices were. I'm like, I'm going to keep an eye out for one of these 3 titles and see what movie is made. And then eventually it was The Tomorrow War. And I looked at the plot and they literally didn't go by any of my like choices. And the plot they came up with was so trash. That movie was completely forgotten. All that I'm trying to say is this is The Tomorrow War all over again. I know what's happening in the background.
Yeah.
I just need to get to the end and watch the movie. And I'm going to watch it and be like, they didn't fix the gloves. They didn't fix the gloves.
Yeah, exactly.
How did they both
if
win
that line is
Abu
still
Dhabi?
in there about going faster in the corners on the
It's so
screen.
bad.
But I thought, whatever the plot of this movie is, we should have a think about. What was I going to say? We should have a think about what film they should have made instead.
Yes.
And
yes.
I have something for you here. Ta-da! Can you see this?
Yes, I can. Films they should have made instead. This is so exciting.
So I think the new segment of our show, we should always start with films they should have made instead. I've got lots of ideas for different films, so I'm just going to go through one right now. And so I'm going to try and do each one as like a 1 or 2 minute pitch that you might give a Hollywood executive. So you're the Hollywood executive and you have to say to me, you like it, you don't like it, whatever, right?
Yeah.
So the film they should have made instead, I think the story should have been about this tension. George Russell, Max Verstappen, their supposed rivalry. I don't understand how this is rivalry because...
Why does he look like such a bad guy in the white suit? Like, doesn't he look like a Bond villain?
Exactly. I said that so many episodes ago. Look, I've still got that list here. Floppy hair, obsession with being topless, Margaret Thatcher, looks like Woody. And then number 7, I've got here, he dresses like the spoiled child of a Bond villain. I wrote this weeks ago. Anyway, for my film, the whole thing centers around Max Verstappen and George Russell and the way they argue and fight and all this tension. But really, all of that tension is coming from the parental
principles.
Generation, Toto and Christian not getting on with each other. And what we're going to do is flip this whole thing on this head. And the whole thing about the families not getting on? This is a modern day Romeo and Juliet.
Oh,
and the power
it's a Formula One Romeo and Juliet.
Exactly.
Oh, that's so good.
And Apex GP is due to come out in the summer.
Yeah.
This film comes out on Valentine's Day.
So
and
good.
it covers so many markets. You want to watch a car movie? It's there. You want an action movie? It's
there.
My
you
want to watch corporate drama? It's there. You want to watch romance? It's there.
So,
and
Romeo and Juliet is a bit dramatic, but if you
this
slightly
one have a happy
change,
ending. Look.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. If you slightly change your tune, so it's more like a rom-com. Oh
yeah, exactly. That's why everyone's smiling at the end.
Wow.
But the important question is cast, right? Who could pull off a rom-com like this?
Oh yeah.
Right?
I don't know who could do it.
So George Russell, played by Timothy Chalamet.
First of all, he's Charles Leclerc. Timothy Chalamet's. But okay, fine. Let's go for it. Okay.
But yeah,
I see it working. I see it. I like it.
His surname was Chalamet, and I was like, I would like George Russell to not chala his car. Anyway, so that's who that is. And then Max Verstappen, a moody person with a stubble. I want Cillian Murphy. He's got the lips as well.
He's
right?
good. It's
With
perfect.
like the hairstylist, they could do this.
Also, I feel like the same group of people that enjoy Peaky Blinders are Max Verstappen fans. I
Yeah,
don't know why, but that feels correct to me.
yeah. Toto Wolff, Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's easy,
Yeah.
real easy.
Oh my
And
God, who's
then
Christian Horner? I
any
have to
ideas for
know.
Christian Horner?
Prince Harry. I don't
No.
know.
It's someone who would pull the role off incredibly.
I don't know who would be.
Meryl Streep.
Oh, perfect. Oh, she's
I
even
think
got
she
the
would make a
same jaw. They've got the same
yeah,
jaw.
and the same outfit there.
Yeah.
So that's my pitch for the film they should have made instead of.
What is it
Um,
called?
oh, what's it called? Love at First Fight.
Nice. Oh my God, it's a car movie. It's got drama. It's got love and romance. What happens at the end? Does George
That's a
get
happy
together with
ending.
Max, or it's just a
Yeah, and then
happy ending?
Toto and Christian become friends.
That's now you lost me. That's never
Well,
gonna
yeah,
happen.
like so many of these films are not like real life. That's the point. And then we can spend the rest of time debating how much did Toto and Christian actually get along or not
Can
get
you
along.
imagine in the future if they make like a Lewis Hamilton biopic, and they actually make Toto Wolff like friends with Christian Horner? How pissed he would be.
That'd be so good.
Yeah.
Right, should we get into how Lewis's weekend was?
Yes, let's do it.
So he went to grab pole on the Saturday. That was pretty fast.
Don't. I know where you're going.
His car grabbed a pole instead.
No.
It was really sad.
Do you know how I watched that happen?
I was working. I think I wasn't. I didn't watch it, and I was looking for like highlights, like on my phone, the text updates. And I just saw a picture of a bollard in the car, and I went, "Oh God!" And then he was out in Q1, and I was like, "Oh my God!"
So I just came off of a night shift, and I was like struggling so much to stay awake, and I had qualifying on, and I was sitting on my couch, and it was before qualifying started, and I said, I've just got to fight through it, stay awake, and watch. And then I fell asleep, and when I woke up, it was Q2, and I was like, oh man, I've missed Q1, and I like frantically searched the list of names, and Lewis wasn't on there, and I was like, man, I don't even want to know what happened, and then I switched it off, and I went to sleep, and I didn't see any of the pictures of the bollard until later. But
Yeah,
imagine if I had like forced myself to stay awake and not gotten that extra 15 minutes just to watch
just
Lewis
to watch.
snag a bollard.
Bollard. What do you call them in America?
A cone.
A cone, but it's not
traffic
cone shaped.
But I don't know.
Like when you have them to
bollards?
stop you parking somewhere.
Oh yeah, I guess we just call them cones. I mean, they're not cones. Do you guys have actual traffic cones in the UK?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have the bollards too with the base, but I feel like I just always refer to it as a cone. The traffic cone.
His non-cone shaped object.
There's some American that'll be listening to this that'll be calling, no, we call it blah, blah, blah. And I'm just not going to know.
But as we established before we even started recording, America is so big that somewhere, whatever you say is true for somewhere.
It's when I went to Austin for the Grand Prix, I actually had culture shock. I had to figure out my life. And my sister was like, "You're still in America. It's fine." And I was like, "Okay, but
No, I'm not.
don't feel like
I'm not the America I know." What did you think of Lewis's last race with Mercedes?
I don't know what my expectations were for this year and for this last race, because I didn't think it was pretty clear off the beginning of the year that the car was not good. And as the year went on, we knew Lewis was fighting it all the time. I mean, he said on Hot Ones, he's never been more at he's never been more at odds with his car than he is right now. And I was kind of just wanted the year to be over. There was no happy ending.
When he qualified
for
18th,
me.
I was like, best case scenario here, finishes P9, just get the race over and done with.
I'll tell you what I really wanted for him to come out of Ferrari, though. Not after watching qualifying. When he qualified in 18th, I was like, Lewis Hamilton is a very emotional person, and he wears his emotions outwards, right? Like in the press conferences, if he's depressed, he'll just be really depressed. He'll never hide it. He'll never be like really optimistic. No, if he's sad, he's sad. And I noticed that he needs a lot of encouragement and a lot of support from his team around him. And then in return, he will also support them when they're feeling down. So when he qualified 18th, I was like, Bono's going to really have to work on him to make sure he has the, the attitude to do better. And he did. But what I liked is that Fred Vasseur said that, when Lewis comes to Ferrari, I realize he's a very emotional person, and we're going to have to really work hard to support him and make him feel emotionally secure. And that to me was the best thing to come out of the weekend, because it tells me that they understand who it is that they're bringing. Because if they didn't take that attitude, if they're like, yeah, he's either gonna win or he's gonna get binned, like we don't like that's it, he's lucky to be here, something like that, then I don't think the partnership would have lasted very long.
They wouldn't have got the best out of him.
Exactly. So
it's not in their interest. They spent so much money on him. They may as well make use of it.
Yeah, and if all that takes is having his race engineer say nice things to him on the radio, then of course he would want to do that. So I was happy to see Frederick Vasseur take that attitude, and of course, what better way to end his last race than with an incredible performance that we know he's capable of whenever he can just make the most out of his car,
That overtake on George was so good.
Yeah.
And did you see the clip of Nico Rosberg watching it?
No, I didn't.
So there's a recording of Nico Rosberg watching it live, and he starts freaking out, and he's like, "Oh my god, did you see that? That is insane! What an overtake! I can't believe he overtook that!" And Nico Rosberg is generally very honest about things. I know sometimes there's a theory that he exaggerates how good Lewis is, so that he can then be like, "And I
beat him." Yeah.
Yeah, but so many times, when he's with Crofty or whatever, he just calls out nonsense. He's like, "No, that's not true." And it's like, "Oh, he's going really slow." He's like, "Yeah, but he's doing that on purpose because he needs to bring the tires in over the next 2 laps. We'll go faster, don't worry." He just calls out nonsense. And for him to be like, "That was really good overtake," I was like, "It was a really good overtake." And the fact that it happened there, and my favorite part was across the 3 years, what we call the Jenson Button statistic, because Jenson Button across the 3 years at McLaren technically scored more points than Lewis. So everyone's like, "Oh well, Lewis finished ahead twice in the championship, but Jenson got more points over the whole period of time." Lewis ended with more points than George. And I know it's not an important comparison. I know he spent half of last year, the year before, just testing on the car and trying different things and carrying things. And I know he spent half of this year just giving up on the car and just just getting to the end and not even wanting to be there. So it's not a direct comparison in the same way you would compare him to Rosberg or even some seasons with Bottas. But it just so that other people can't be like, "Oh, he got beat by Jenson and George." I'm just so glad I never have to hear that.
Yeah, it's but people will believe whatever they want to believe, because George was saying it's the stupidest thing he said, and he said a lot of stupid things, but he was he was like, to think that 7-year-old boy who was trying to get Lewis Hamilton's autograph would one day get into the same team with him and beat him in his first year, a 7-time world champion. I'm just so proud of what I've been able to accomplish, and I think that young boy would be so proud. He said something like that, and it just made me so mad. How can you look at 2022 and genuinely say you beat Lewis Hamilton when everybody knows Lewis Hamilton spent the majority of that year running experiments on purpose and slowing himself down on purpose? The only year where I really feel like they competed was last year, and Lewis beat him pretty easily. Even this year, Lewis was beating him for a long time, pretty much until the end when he had a couple of really bad races in a row, and like you said, he just gave up and he knew he's going to Ferrari and there's no reason to beat George. But there was never a point where they were really fighting each other that George came out ahead. So people who will want George to come out ahead will just say whatever they want. But yes, this is one statistic that I'm just
I think
happy.
Also, Lewis, at Silverstone, when he can feel the opportunity of a win.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a different Lewis comes out. Yeah. So I think when Lewis is fighting for a championship, he's at 110%. And I think George Russell hasn't had to drive against that Lewis.
No.
Whereas Bottas has.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Rosberg has. And I think that's what makes it different.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Teammates. Yeah. No, you're completely right. Because, what has he really been fighting for? Nothing. Even, if you go back to, Brazil.
This race, we talk about what has really been fighting for. If you look at this race, to come from 18th to 4th, a couple of corners before the end, when it's all over, to still go for the overtakes, to still be pushing. When just a couple of weeks ago, people were like, "Oh, he's too old, he's past it, blah, blah, blah." to put in a performance like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I know people will be like, well, why didn't he qualify higher? But
It's the
I just,
bollard. It's the
yeah,
bollard's fault.
yeah. But I just think it was a good end. Like, it would have been nice if he was on the podium.
Mm.
But all things considered, I thought he was just going to have a relatively anonymous race, somehow end up in P9, and that was going to be it. So it
Mm-hmm.
exceeded my expectations,
Absolutely.
and I had a really good time.
Yeah, I really thought it was going to be an anonymous race. I mean, one of the years he DNF'd on the last, I think 2022, he just DNF'd. Like that was the end of that year.
Yeah,
So like it's typically a very like I can't tell you how Lewis did in last year's Abu Dhabi. It probably wasn't.
yeah,
So that's what I thought was going to happen, and I thought but to see him fight. Honestly, the energy reminded me of Brazil 2021 because it's the idea of like just being so far behind and then having all of this motivation to just get ahead and win. Like once he has that push and he wants to make that push, he'll go for it. And yeah, it was really good to see, and the overtake was amazing. It was very brave, and he went on the outside when George tried to cover the inside, and he knew he had the grip, and he took the risk, and he made the overtake right before the race was over. It was really, really nice to watch.
it's great.
What do you make of everybody acting like Lewis Hamilton is retiring from the sport when he's just switching teams?
It was interesting, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And like the way Bono got dressed up and this and that.
Yeah.
It's yeah, I don't know what I've made of it. On the one hand, like I did like the video. There's things about that video that I would have done different.
Yeah.
There's a couple of me with my like filmmaker hat on trying to make a rom-com.
So what would you have what would you have done different?
So the thing where they had him breathing at the end of Abu Dhabi 21, just sat in the car.
Oh yeah.
I would have transitioned from that to then when the kid goes, imagine the whole world behind you, and then loads of people screaming, and then cut to him as a kid, being like, imagine being in a Formula One car, must be pretty powerful. And then I would have had him cross the line, and then they go, Lewis Hamilton, 9 times winner at the British Grand Prix.
Oh yeah.
Because I think to go from being sat in the car, like totally defeated, and like just so disappointed in Abu Dhabi 21, to put that against Lewis as a kid, and then put that against winning Silverstone this year and ending the winless streak.
There's actually
I think that would have been
another video on Instagram that I got that I thought cut together the imagine being in a Formula One car must be so powerful. I think it did it slightly better because it went from that and then it cut to a montage of him winning his championships, and I thought that was so good because it was
also
like,
every dream needs a team.
So stupid.
So stupid.
I understand why they did it though. I get it. Because they're trying to be like, look, we are the cool team that elevated him. But it's a little tone deaf, right? Like, the spotlight's on Lewis. Don't take it off of Lewis. Like, he also elevated
something
you.
like, thank you for bringing your dream to our team, and then like faded out the other word, so it just said dream team.
Yeah, that would have been good too. See, we should work in marketing.
Yeah, it would be so good. Marketing? But I think something like that would have made more sense. Every dream needs a team. It almost felt to me like some things make more sense in a different language, and when you translate them into English, they're not.
No,
quite
man,
as good.
It was a British marketing firm that they hired. Ugh. It wasn't German or Italian.
No, but that's what I mean. They were so bad that they made it look like English wasn't even their first language.
Yeah, maybe. I also didn't like that so much of it was in black and white. Like, show us some pops of color. If you want to show us like him coming to the team in black and white, but then his success can be in color, like do it like that. But everything was just in black and white. Even all the pictures, all the like
some of it was
wallpapers.
Like imagine your hero knowing your name and the Niki Lauda and stuff. That was all really cool.
That was good. I like that. Yeah. And I like that they had the kids. Those are real kids that really like Lewis. I thought that was good. And they had the little girl, and they had like the Carter and the dirt bike guy, Moto X or whatever. That was good.
They should have had all the kids, and then just at one point have Nico as well. Rosberg.
Imagine
just have Rosberg beef at the end going, "Thank you, Lewis."
just Rosberg.
Just Rosberg by himself. Thank you, Lewis. And like have it in black and white, like really dramatic background. It's like the ocean in the middle of a storm, and it's just Rosberg stood there in like a vest.
Do you
I
remember
haven't
how
done
he
that.
wasn't allowed at the Monaco paddock because he wasn't vaccinated? Remember how that
Yeah.
was a thing?
Yeah. So he stood in the pier.
Yeah. That's the shot they need. Him standing at the pier. Thank you, Lewis.
Thank you, Lewis. What did you think of the other teams? So obviously they ended everything with doing donuts.
Mm.
Red Bull were so excited to have the season finish that Max and Perez did donuts on the first lap.
So I think it's even funnier to say that people on Reddit were saying, Verstappen's going to be having a child. He's going to announce the gender by either knocking out a blue car or a pink car.
Yeah.
And then when he knocked out the McLaren, they were like, what does orange mean? I think that's much funnier. First of all, like just the prediction that he's gonna knock a car out, like
Yeah.
there's no guarantee he was gonna do that because like he's already won the championship. But then the fact that he does go ahead and knock out Oscar Piastri of all people. Also, there's all these people saying Kevin Magnussen. Remember what McLaren did to you. You have no penalty points in your last race. You know what to do. He didn't even get to it.
No.
Verstappen already knocked out the McLaren.
God.
Amazing.
So another incredible race from Perez, who then for the first time ever in the paddock after was like, yeah, we're having discussions. For the first time admitted that maybe he wasn't going to be driving next year.
Can I just ask something? What more do people want from Perez? This is the most consistent guy throughout the entire year. Every single race, he's let down Red Bull. Even in the last race,
P7, P8.
he let down Red Bull. Like
he scored as many points since Miami or something, almost as many as what's his face, Gasly. I think Gasly scored 42 and Perez scored 49.
This is the ideal D driver, right? This is who you'd want not supporting you.
It's wild. But anyway,
you know what's funny is I remember
Yuki gets the seat.
Yeah, he won't though for
I know he won't.
Reasons.
Hashtag lol. The same reason he got detained at the airport and none of the other drivers did.
But I think he made life worse for him. I can't imagine him being cogent and like clearly explaining, no, sir, I have permits. I'm on my way to the race. He was probably like, let me out of here. I'm a driver. Like they're like, what do you mean a driver? A driver. Formula One. I'm a driver. Like
he said he thinks it's because he was wearing his pajamas and looked like
that
homeless.
Didn't make things better. Like he was wearing his pajamas.
He said maybe because I looked homeless.
I mean, it's not good anyway. America's a very racist country.
Yay.
We're gonna get canceled now.
I know. But I'm not there. Haas Alpine, they were very close. Alpine put Jack Doohan in. It was all very bizarre. Like the guy finished second last or something. Yeah. On one hand, I get the logic. Like the first race is always going to be tricky. It's just going to be about learning things. If you can do that now, then it means when they start next season,
No. You know why? I'll tell you why. Okay. When I was finishing medical school and starting residency, my last like real hospital clinical time was in April, and I started my residency training in June. So April, May, June. What is that? About 2.5, 3 months ish. Yeah. And in April, I felt so good about myself. I was like, yeah, I'm ready to be a doctor, a real life doctor, and be in residency. And I've got the confidence, and I think I'm going to do a great job. And in those 2.5 months where I didn't have to do anything, when I started in June, I didn't remember a single thing in medicine. I didn't remember what hypertension was. I didn't remember how to treat it. I didn't remember how to listen to heart sounds. I forgot everything. So there's no point starting someone that far behind. If you want to have him do a longer lead up into testing, into winter testing, you do it that. But starting him it's not even the same car. They're going to have a different car for next year.
No, but I think it was about learning operational stuff. Like, this is how we use the radio. This is how we'll communicate this. This is how, all that kind of stuff. This is how we communicate with you, how to stop at a pit stop. Like, I know he's driven in other categories. I know he knows a lot of these things.
Yeah, that's true. Because
I'm just trying to understand it, because the sensible thing would have been to have Ocon in the car because they finished so close to Haas.
Yeah.
Like, Gasly did a really good job to beat Hulkenberg, and kept Alpine where they were, but they could have very easily lost that position. So the sensible thing would have been to just keep Ocon in it. So I'm just trying to understand why they did this, because it made the end of year photos and things look awkward. They had the team there, Jack doing sat, and I was like, this guy's not even raced yet, and you've got him like saying goodbye to everyone.
Goodbye. I've missed racing
Thanks
with
for the
you.
great year.
Like, who are you? What are you, a reserve driver or something? That's like that Mean Girls thing. He doesn't even go here.
Yeah. Exactly.
This comparison is going to be lost on a lot of people, but I think it's really good, so I'm going to make it. Alpine Formula One team is the New York Jets in American football, and I'm going to explain to you why that is. So the New York Jets, okay, historically not a great team. They've had flashes of brilliance, but not like a consistently great team. But recently, they basically decided they were going to upend their entire way they run their team and try something new. They hired this veteran, Aaron Rodgers, as their quarterback, who is kind of washed. You know, he had some great days in the past with a different team and won championships with them. But he's back here and he's trying to turn this team around. And they've hired him. They fired their head coach. They fired their general manager and all these other people, and they just keep trying to make it work. And since they've done that, they've only gotten worse and worse. And it's like every decision Aaron Rodgers makes the team get worse and worse. And Alpine is basically the same thing. They've had these flashes of brilliance in the past. When they were Renault, they were doing so good. They've brought in Flavio Briatore in this new management.
That's insane.
And they've fired all these people. They keep firing people and thinking that's going to make things better. They've gotten rid of Esteban Ocon. He is their Robert Saleh, who basically they're both fired for racist reasons. And then whatever they try to bring in just makes the team do worse. Bringing Jack Doohan in did not help the situation at all. Yeah, maybe it taught him some operational things, but ultimately, where did he finish? And was Ocon going to finish there, or was he possibly going to challenge for points? And you can't tell me he wouldn't have possibly challenged for points. He's definitely the better driver. So, Alpine, New York Jets, both of them suck. And both of them have a connection with Patrick Mahomes.
I know who that is.
Yes, quarterback. He owns things.
Yes.
Yes, American
Not
football.
Not a fullback, just a quarter of a fullback.
American football. The
American
only
football. Hand egg. Have you seen, speaking of Americans, have you seen Valtteri Bottas' new whiskey advert?
No.
It's just the weirdest thing I've ever seen. If you're listening right now, we've come to the point where we're ending the show. So I'm going to end it. I'm going to say goodnight, everyone. And I'm going to say go on Instagram now. Go to Valtteri Bottas' page and watch the weird little cowboy thing that he's released. And then we can discuss next time. I'm going to
see if I can pull it up. And maybe I can watch it with the people who are here on YouTube. Yeah. And we'll end it early for the other. What video is it?
It's like an advert for something.
He's got a pinned one. Is it the pinned one? No, this is a Christmas calendar thing. Okay. I see this, but it's just a picture of him drinking. Is that what you're talking about?
No, let me find it.
All right, guys, we're gonna figure this out, and you guys can go online. And
No. Let me find it. Oh, it's not there. It was a reel.
Oh,
here it is. See on his picture, on his thing, is this one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's the 7th one down.
What's the image of?
He's like line dancing and
Oh, line dancing. Okay, I got it. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen, and I'll cut this stuff out for the audio people. Yeah. Maybe I won't. Maybe we can watch. Maybe they can listen in. Okay.
We sing song now.
We sing song now.
I think you ought to try whiskey, babe.
Well, I think you ought to try gin.
Gin tastes too much like Pinta, baby.
Not mine, it's made by Finn.
My whiskey's made in Vermont farmland.
But barrel-aged gin is a sin.
Well, Whistle Pig would change your mind.
As would my old gin.
Maybe
there's a part of Bottas's brain that just broke when he left Mercedes.
Well, I can't hear you.
In Vermont, baby.
I'll watch it.
Sounds like a surefire win.
Vacuum distilled with oats and apple pills.
One drop and you get all the feels. I think I'm gonna like whiskey, baby.
And I think I'm gonna like gin.
Well, I think I'm gonna like whiskey, baby.
And I think I'm gonna like gin.
The limited edition
Whistle
big
Peak Steak F1 single barrel rye whiskey.
So was that an SNL skit? What did I just watch?
I don't
And
know.
also-
It was
Yeah.
like a part of his brain broke when he left Mercedes. Something happened. He grew the mullet. He did this whole "I'm Australian now." I love it. I think it's great. Whatever this weird personality is that's coming out, like he knows he's being silly. Like whatever that was deliberate. It wasn't accidentally like that. But
All I'll say is, if
It's
they're
bizarre,
trying to
but I love
appropriate Texan culture, it tells you why I had culture shock when I went to
Yeah.
Texas. Us
Yeah.
New Yorkers are not meant to mix with the Texans. It's just not.
no,
Yeah.
great. Right. Well, you have fun then.
All right, guys, we're going to be back with our end of the year review in a couple weeks sometime when I'm not working nights and tired all the time. Bye.
Bye.